Hi everybody, this is Susan from Sunrise Quilt Studio and welcome to week 26 of the Stash Buster block series. And the block today is called Triangles and Squares, and it is made up of 4 square and square units. So this one will go pretty quickly and is fairly easy put together, and I'll show you a few tricks along the way to help match your points. So I'm going to adjust the camera and we'll get to working on this block. Here is our triangles and squares block, and as I said, this was made of square and a square units. So we have 4 of them, and the center of each one is a different fabric, and it all has the same background. So what we're going to need are 5 different fabrics. You need a background, plus you need 4 colored fabrics for your centers. And for those squares, you need to cut 4 of these that are 3 3/8 of an inch square, and I've got the same fabrics here. I've got yellow, blue, green, and purple. For your background fabric, you're going to need 8 3-inch squares, and then you're going to cut them in half diagonally, so you'll wind up with 16 triangles. So we're going to chain piece all of these together, and we're going to start with sewing triangles to opposite sides of each square like this. So first thing we'll do is we'll sew 1 on each piece, and then we'll turn them, and then we'll sew 1 to the opposite side. So let me adjust the camera towards the sewing machine and we'll get started on that. Okay, we're going to chain piece all of these together, and I'm going to start just by doing one side, and I'm going to find the center of each side of the square and just do a finger press, and then for each triangle I'll do the same. We'll fold it in half along the long edge and do a finger press. Just be careful because this is your biased edge, so you want to be careful not to stretch that out of alignment. And then I'm going to match up those 2 creases and then sew it with 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. And then go to the next square and do the same thing. Just fold it in half, do a finger press, and finger press my triangle. And of course you can do all of these beforehand, before you get to your sewing machine if you want to, or just, you know, mark them with a pen or a pencil, or, you know, whatever you like to use. This works well for me, so I'm going to do this. And just chain piece all of these together. So I'm going to keep repeating this until I've gotten all 4 squares sewn with 1 triangle on them. Okay, I have 1 triangle sewn to each square, so we have this going on. Got them all chained together, and I'm just going to flip it around and do the opposite side. So we'll do the same thing, and they're still chain pieced together. You can cut them apart if you want, and just grab another triangle. And find the center of that one and just line them up. Okay, so this is what we have now. Have all of these squares with 2 triangles on them now in the opposite direction. So I'm going to cut these apart, and then we're going to press these open. Okay, we have all of the triangles. Well, all of the squares now have 2 triangles on them. So we're going to press them towards the triangle, which is away from the color, which is normally, you know, we press towards the darker fabric. This time we're going to press towards the lighter. Always an exception to the rule. And these rules are more like suggestions instead of rules. So here we go. Okay, then I'm going to get rid of these dog ears that are not going to help me out with anything, so we're going to get rid of them. And all they'll do is create extra bulk that we don't need. So we're going to go ahead and cut these off. Okay, now we need to sew triangles onto the other two sides, here and here. So we'll do the same thing. Take a triangle, find the center, give it a little finger press, and then do the same thing to the square. So I'm lining up the square, and I'm ignoring the triangle here. I'm not using that as a squaring point because it's I don't know that it is completely square yet at this point. That will come here in a little bit. So line those up and then chain piece these all together again. I'm just going to flip it around and do the other side. So now I have a triangle on each side of all four squares. So now I need to cut these apart and then press those triangles out. Okay, we're going to do the same thing we did before. I'm going to press the triangles out and press them towards the dark. So here we have a square and a square unit. So let's press them all open, and we'll do a little bit of trimming, and then we can sew them together to make the block. Okay, I'm going to trim away all of these little dog ears, and then I'm going to square up the blocks, or the units. Okay, now at this point it's important to square these up. I don't know if you can see here, but this is not real square, and I want to make sure I have about 1/4 of an inch from this point to the edge. Okay, I need one. This is a ruler that does help you square things up, and it's got a lot of angles on it, but the lines at the 1/4 inch mark are real heavy, and it's not going to give me as precise a measurement as this one will. So I want to use this one, and just line that up and cut. And these are just little amounts that I'm cutting off. They're not a whole lot, but it will make a difference. This will help. There we go. And that looks a little bit better, but see, those are just tiny amounts here that I'm cutting off, but it will make a difference in putting this block together. So anytime I do a square and a square, I usually will square them up after I get done sewing all the pieces together to it. Okay, I have all of the units squared up, so now I just need to lay them out in the order I want them sewn together, and I'll just follow what I have in this sample block here, and there, we'll do that. So we're going to sew these two together and these two together, and then we'll sew the row together. So we need to match points, and so I'm going to go through the back side of this point where the two stitching lines cross, and that should come right through the tip of that point on this side, and then I'm going to go through the right side of this one and line those up, line up my raw edges and the points, and then pin them together and then sew. So I'm going to go ahead and match this point up while I'm at it, so then I can just sew the two together at the same time. Okay, so we got those two sewn, and then we're going to press and sew the two rows together. Okay, I'm going to lay these out so that I get the colors in the right orientation, so it's the same as this block. And one thing I want to show you is that in this block I pressed all the seams open, so I'm going to do the same thing here, and that'll help distribute all of that bulk that's coming together right there, because we've got a lot of seams coming together, and it'll help the block lay flatter. So do the same to this one. I'm going to check my block orientation again, make sure I've got my colors the same, and then we're going to do the same thing we did with the points on each unit. So now we're sewing rows of units together, but we've got the same issue. We've got to match points. So, and those look pretty good there. I didn't look at them really close, but they look pretty good. So I'm going to point, push the pin through the point, line it up and pin it so it won't shift, and then do the same thing to this one. Go through the back of the top row at the point, and then go through the front of the block in the next row. We also have a seam we need to match up, so we need to match this seam here. So let me get that matched up, and I'm going to pin that too. And since these seams aren't pressed to one side, that may be a little bit more difficult to line up. You're not going to feel the nesting part of it, but you can get those all lined up. Okay, here's the block I just finished. It's turned out pretty well, I think, and I hope you give this block a try. I think there's a lot of possibilities for a quilt with these blocks. So I wanted to show you some of the layout options. You can do a lot with these. You can do a lot with these blocks because even though they are symmetrical, meaning no matter how you turn it, the pattern is the same. But since with this pattern particularly that I made, the colors that I chose, there's a different color in each block or in each unit. You could do a lot with that. You could also have each block with a completely different set of colors and come up with some neat ideas. But if you lay them all side to side or side by side with, you know, all the colors laid out the same, you know, we've got green, purple, blue, yellow, all the way across. This is the look that you would get. You can also alternate these if you wanted to, like put two yellows together, or if you want to put all of your yellows together, you'd have something like that. You could do yellows and purples, or yellows and greens. And then you can do the yellows and the blues. And just keep rotating them until you find a design that you like. You could also put these on point. And if we had them all going, let's see, let's lay them all out the same way. Now all the blocks are laying horizontally instead of making diamonds. They're just squares now. So you could do that if you want. And think about different colors that you like. You could use just two colors. You could use one color. You could, like I said, use completely different colors in every single block. Whatever you like to do. I think you could come up with lots of pretty interesting designs. Make kind of like a plaid look with your blocks, and you know, try a different background color if you want. This one I used pretty, you know, primary and secondary colors, so they're pretty bright. They're not muted colors, so I think they show up really well and makes it a nice bright cheery quilt. So I hope this is one block that you will give a try. Well, thanks for watching, and I hope you'll give this block a try, and I hope you enjoy it. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you do, please click the like button, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and click the notification bell so you'll be notified when the next video comes up. And in the meantime, I hope you're all staying safe and staying healthy, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. For more quilting ideas, click on the video links. And to keep up with my latest projects, click on the subscribe button. I hope to see you again soon.